sort of what to expect today. So the purpose of this class today is to really better understand the importance of a marketing plan, being able to track results and how it's foundational to starting and growing your best business. So be ready to take notes today. Again, questions at any time, we can stop. I have a lot of slides, but I'm going to be blowing through them quickly. We will provide the slides in the chat, and if you need, we can email those to you after the class. And I don't know if we have any breakout room discussions today or polls, but again, we have a couple great panelists today, and they will be introducing themselves shortly. So I'll start with introducing myself. For those that don't know me, my name is Jason Moon. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center here in Columbia County. This center is brand new. We are the 20th center in Oregon now. The 19 other centers are all affiliated with community colleges. So Columbia County is really fortunate, in my eyes, to have the 20th center and it not be affiliated with a community college. It really helps us remove some of the barriers and red tape that some of the other centers experience. And it really is a center for the people and for the businesses. I didn't mean to skip over. We'll probably go back a slide to keep it local. If you want to do that, Sierra, that way you can introduce yourself, and then I'll jump into.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Hello, everybody. So Jason and I are on the same team, the Columbia Economic team, and he's amazing with the SBDC. I do the work with the Keep It Local Columbia County program. And so just we're both co-hosting this series, the marketing series, and just a little bit about us in case you haven't met us. Let me admit a few people in. One sec. In case you haven't heard of Keep It Local Columbia County, we kind of promote people to shop, taste, play local in Columbia County. And so we're really kind of the marketing arm of small businesses. And so we promote businesses for free, have a free directory. You most likely know us from Facebook and Instagram, especially Facebook. And so we love to share like what's happening in the community. And so that's a little bit about us. Keep our eyes out soon. We're going to be launching our new directory, and it's free for any business and organization to be on. So that'll be a great place to just look up, I'm looking for a local landscaper, and like it'll show all the local landscapers in our county. And so that's exciting. And then the other thing to keep an eye out for is next month, we'll be kicking off signing up people for our holiday campaign, which last year brought in $391,000 in local spending. And so we would love to have you participate. My goal is to get at least 90 businesses. I think we had like 80 something last time. So would love anybody to participate in that. And so that's my rundown. Throw it back to Jason.
Thank you, Sierra. Sierra does a ton of great work within the county. And again, like she mentioned, we're both on the same team under sort of the same umbrella of the Columbia Economic team. So we'll skip to the next slide here. So again, a little bit about me and the SBDC. So we have a ton of free programs that we're offering the county and businesses, whether you're already in business or you're thinking about starting a business. We offer free one-on-one confidential business advising. So if you come to me or the center, you don't have to worry about any information leaving our conversations unless you want it to. So that's free one-on-one confidential business advising. I work with businesses, develop business plans and how to manage those plans. I work a lot with loan application packaging and how to access capital here in the county. Like today, we're working on some marketing plan strategies. I work with businesses on how to hire, manage, and retain your team. And again, being able to navigate some of those business processes, whether it's through the cities or the county. I have access to accounting and financing resources, and then helping you manage your cash flow challenges. So that's the Columbia County SBDC in a nutshell. Again, we're co-hosting this with Keep It Local today. So really, really happy to be here. Next slide. So I'm going to take this time to introduce our two panelists here today, which we're going to we're going to ask you to put your name and your business organization in the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to introduce our two panelists. So first today, we have Meagan Fawcett with the Columbia Pacific Food Bank. And we have Heather Agosta from Jasmine Pearl Tea Company. So I don't know, Meagan, if you'd like to go first and do a little intro, background, just a couple minutes, and then we'll be able to talk with you a little bit more later.
Sure. Yeah. So again, I'm Meagan Fawcett. I work for the County Regional Food Bank, Columbia Pacific Food Bank. I have been with them for 3.5 years, and my title is Director of Development. So my focus is primarily on marketing, communications, fundraising, and business development. I've worn a few hats over the adult years in different professions. All have been centered around sales and marketing. So I managed Gap Inc. clothing stores for 15 years. Then I worked for St. Helens Credit Union, which is now Inroads, doing marketing and business development, and now with the food bank. So my focus is to really kind of educate the community around our needs, and really for those folks to understand how they can give back, as well as how our clients can utilize our services. So I also do some one-on-one help with small businesses in regards to marketing as well too. So very excited to be here today, and thank you for putting this on. It's very important for small businesses.
Thank you, Meagan. Thank you for being here today. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. This is really exciting to be able to just talk with people and all share information about marketing. I am the co-founder of the Jasmine Pearl Tea Company, and we are a tea importer, tea blender, wholesaler, and retailer of specialty loose leaf teas. And we focus primarily on servicing small businesses with tea. So cafes, restaurants, coffee shops, grocery stores. We also have a retail site online where we sell directly to the public. And then we also had a tea shop for 10 years as well, but that closed at the beginning of the pandemic. And as an entrepreneur, I am like a lot of you, where I started doing everything, and including marketing and running the business and all of that. So used to wearing a lot of different hats. And currently I am still doing the marketing for the Jasmine Pearl. So it's really fun to be able to talk to people about this today, especially because what we do when we're a little tiny solo business versus what we do when we're a bigger business, marketing wise, can look really different. So yeah, so glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Heather. And I know that your business is located in Portland, but Heather is a neighbor of ours here in Scappoose. So thanks for taking the time to be here.
Yeah.
Again, I see him floating in the chat there. So remember to put your name and your business or organization or what you're looking to start in the chat. That's much appreciated. We'll go to the next slide. So again, like I said in the beginning, there's a lot in these slides, and I'm going to breeze through them. Really what we want to tackle are these 7 steps to creating your marketing plan. And so again, we want to learn how to create a marketing plan that works best for you and your business. So every business needs some sort of unique plan. Again, we're talking with Meagan and Heather, who operate completely different business models and probably do their marketing a lot differently. So there's some crossover and similarities, but remember that your plan is going to be unique for you. We'll go next. So again, step 1 is to prepare. That's one of the reasons that we're here today. You want to be able to brainstorm and write down what it is that you're doing with your marketing plan. What's your unique selling proposition? The qualities that define you and your brand and your business. Who is your ideal client? That's really important. Your monthly marketing budget, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and your short-term and long-term marketing goals. Step 2 is prioritize your timeline. So all of these are very important steps. Sorry, we'll get into the next slide here. So you want to list your do's, your don'ts, and your not nows. I think the not nows are always really important to me. You always know what you want to do to connect your goals to your business and your current needs. So you creating that priority list is really, really important. So if you're just getting started, is it building that website? You know, if you're low on your budget, are you utilizing email marketing or specific ads? Are you leveraging social media? Do you want to harvest more organic traffic? So are you looking at blog posts and SEO? So again, there's a lot of terms in here that we can also send you a marketing 101 slide for those that weren't involved in the classes last week. So if there's something that you're not sure what it means, you can throw that in the chat or know that we're going to share that list with you after this class as well. So step 3 is exploring realistic options. You really want to find out what works best for you. So will you be creating this content yourself? Typically with a lot of small businesses, that's what happens. You're creating the content yourself. Or maybe you have some budget to hire an expert or somebody on site or even off site that's going to manage your marketing content. There's a ton of freelancers out there. There's a lot of resources that are in this room right now where you can help, maybe hire a freelancer or something to that extent. You want to explore all the different possibilities and solutions that align with your budget and goals. You want to set those realistic expectations, really level those out. And again, you don't need to be one of the big brands like Coca-Cola to run a successful marketing campaign. Step 4 is the content calendar. I live and die by a calendar. And I'm not sure what Megan and Heather's thoughts are on this when we get to the Q&A, but I feel like this is a very vital step. So again, with creating the content calendar, it's really about making a plan. Planning is 80% of making marketing a success. So once you know what you want to do, create that content calendar. It really helps you spell it out. It helps keep you on task. It helps you stay accountable. So, what is the content strategy? When the content will be created, when the content will be released publicly. So that's a big piece of this. A lot of people think that the content calendar is just strictly what you're pushing out to social media or email marketing lists, but really it's the collective strategy here. And when, if ever, will it end, or will you need to take it down? And we'll talk about those changes later. So step 5, send it out in the world. So when you start to launch that marketing strategy, don't be afraid of imperfection. And when I say that, it's people will have that analysis paralysis and really they'll get tripped up on that and overthink it. Maybe they won't publish that post or send out that email. you just need to shake that off and be able to have faith that you're going to make mistakes, and that's part of this plan, and that you're going to learn from it. So. I love step 6, reflect. So again, as I was mentioning that, don't get caught up in perfection. There will be mistakes that will be made. You'll have a time to reflect on those, whether it's looking at the data or the metrics or just feedback from individuals or people on social media. You'll have time to go through this. So again, you just want to kind of take a step back once you've started. You want to analyze those click-throughs, those views, the conversation rates, the personal conversations that you're having, the ROI, which is super important. Is there a return on your investment and the overall impact? Oh. I think we got tripped up in the slides here, but so, this is the adapt and adjust as needed portion of it. So again, once you start publishing things, again, if they're social media or it's a website or an email push, you're going to be able to take that data and adjust your strategies accordingly. So yeah, you'll be able to look to see if your posts are a success. Did it flop? Did it get a lot of likes or shares or views? You might have to adjust how you do it. Social media especially is ever changing. So, like Instagram, for instance, there's a huge focus on Reels right now. I've done some in business and personally, and I was quite amazed by the amount of views and likes that I got on a reel compared to just a static post. Did your sales funnel not convert? So you want to make sure that you're really understanding your target. And looking at those email campaigns, did they bring in leads? Did they not? Try to think about why that is or why that isn't. But again, every campaign is really an opportunity for you to learn more about your business and your target customers. And here's the bonus. So again, we say repeat annually. As I mentioned earlier, it's constantly changing and evolving, and so should you. So you really should be setting calendar reminders on your content calendar on when to reassess and see if you need to change up what it is that you're doing. We say at least once a year, but I do it quarterly. So, really taking a look at what you're doing, a hard look, because things do change rapidly. And I think that 3 months really is a pretty good indicator of how things are going. If things are going well, stay on that track and you reevaluate it at 6 months, and then a year, and see how things are going. And make sure you and your team are aligned. Right now, I have a pretty small and tight team, and I feel like we are really aligned in our efforts, but maybe your team's a little bit bigger, or maybe your team's even smaller. So you just want to make sure that there's alignment there. Everyone has a really good understanding of what it is the goal is. So here's just a couple local marketing resources in Columbia County. So obviously we have Keep It Local. As Sierra described earlier, they're the marketing arm for small business here in Columbia County. It's a great resource. If you don't know Sierra, call Sierra. email Sierra, reach out to Sierra. She's amazing. And the Small Business Development Center. Also, I don't just do marketing, I do everything business. So if you have any business questions, whether it is you want to start a business plan or you have just an idea, maybe you've been in business 20 years, I don't know. I'm here to help you start and grow your best business. And then, as Sierra mentioned earlier, we do have a local marketing resource guide that we'll be sharing as well. So like I said, we want to allow a lot of time. We're going to actually have the rest of the time to have a Q&A with both Heather and Megan. What I really want to discuss in the Q&A is sort of the why. Why are we developing this marketing plan? Is it to increase awareness? Is it for market share? Are you a brand new business? The who are we targeting? Who is your audience? And the what. The what is the call to action. And what do you want your audience to do with what you've given them through these marketing channels? So I think I'll start with you, Heather. Do you want to maybe break down some examples of some successes that you've had creating marketing plans? Maybe what's worked and what hasn't worked, or what your process looks like. You're a really seasoned business owner and entrepreneur, and I'm sure that there's been lots of ups and downs, lots of trial and error. So I'm just curious, what's your hot take on being able to create a successful marketing plan?
Well, I think that when you are just a solo entrepreneur, which I think that many of the people in this room are, I think it is really important to recognize that that even though it can be really hard to find time to work on your marketing, that it really is like an investment in yourself. And it's an investment in, your own success in the future. And so it's a really good investment. And so I think one of my hot takes is that, like, take even just a little bit of time to think about your marketing and start the plan and start building those habits in for yourself. You'll be glad, because it'll actually make your job easier in the future. And I think that was one of the really big things that I learned early on, was to set aside that time for myself. And eventually, as we had a team, because before it was just me in the very beginning and my husband, and then we started to actually have people helping. One of the really successful things that has worked for us from a marketing perspective is partnerships. So figuring out a way to have your customers market for you, figuring out a way to have your colleagues, like your business partners or the people in your own community, market for you, so that you don't have to do as many posts and you don't have to do as much like events and things like that. So for people who don't have any time to do marketing, like, if you can figure out a way to have other people market your business for you and make it easy for them to do that, I think that's been a winning thing for us. So that's one of the things. In terms of stuff that hasn't worked for us, I think that actually paying other people to help us market, and I don't mean like actually hiring someone to work in partnership with us, but actually hiring independent firms to do marketing for us. We never saw the return on our investment. And it lost something. It lost an authenticity, and it lost the actual spirit of our business. Never got conveyed when we had like third parties trying to do that for us. So those are two of the really big takeaways from what we've done.
Well, I love your example about partnerships. I think that is super important, especially as we talk about Columbia County businesses. I think that we all know that this is a really tight-knit county and community, and that trickles down to the individual cities that we live in. I like to have what I call brand ambassadors. So anytime that you have someone or multiple people that really can advocate for you and your business and your brand, being able to partner with them. And like you said, Heather, really leverage them, pushing out that marketing as well. As far as hiring out, I think that's really tricky. Sometimes there's I know people personally, especially a couple in this room that are really good, sort of third-party marketers, but it's hard to find a person that has your voice, that can convey that in a way that again feels authentic. So when you are talking with people, if you're unable or don't have the capacity or bandwidth, again, that's something to consider. So I appreciate that thought, Heather. So Meagan, you're there. I want to ask you, what channels do you consider when you're developing a marketing plan? So
Yeah.
Are you looking at email blasts, text, social media? Like what sort of channels and outlets are you utilizing when you develop your marketing plans?
Yeah. So to just step back just slightly, I think part of understanding what channels are going to be successful is knowing kind of your demographic or your preferred client or customer, right? Because if I think about the marketing that I do for the food bank, and some of the social media posts that I've done have landed really well, say for example, on Facebook versus Instagram. And so it's really kind of understanding content that you want to put out in different channels, which we'll talk about in a second, but also your demographic. So the first one that kind of comes to mind is obviously we have to have a marketing budget as well, and understanding the demographic. But I would say is newspaper something that you're interested in? And I wish we had somebody actually from some of our local newspapers to kind of speak to this, but I don't think it's necessarily a tool that is dead. I think that certain demographics definitely utilize physically reading a newspaper while it's also digitally available, but that might be a resource. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram, potentially Twitter as well, depending upon the type of business that you have. TikTok would be another. LinkedIn would also be one as well too. And then, when I think about a lot of the work that I've done specifically with the food bank, we've talked just very briefly about, what did you say? Brand ambassadors, right? Or maybe even cross branding as well. So maybe there's another organization that has product that would fit well with yours, and you could cross brand by creating maybe a giveaway on social media. That is a really great opportunity to gain new traction and awareness from their business as well too, and create new followers and likes if we're talking about social media. We all have a network, they say, of influence of roughly 300 people. And Jason, you talked about us being in a tight-knit community. So for myself, I obviously attend chamber meetings. I try to go to some evening networking events as well too. And being a small business owner, I know that can be really challenging, but word of mouth referrals, and truly business is built upon relationships. So I think really kind of getting out there into the communities and getting to know others is really important to gain brand ambassadors. Let's see here. Yeah, I would say having a website is going to be important, and that also can be utilized where you can push people from social media to your website for further content. Maybe you might create a blog as well. I have found great success with email marketing. So MailChimp is a tool that I use for the food bank specifically. So in my monthly newsletter, I will utilize MailChimp. I will throw in, ways of donating or maybe events that I have going on. And there's a lot of really great information by utilizing like an email marketing tool. You can see how many people actually like click in your email, if there's a hyperlink in there. And then you can really kind of like dig into, hey, do I need to resend this out the following week to people maybe that haven't leaned into that? And so there's a lot of creative ways to utilize email marketing. So that's just a few. I could talk more about ways of doing that, but from social media to newspapers to email marketing, as well as like just really getting out there and creating new relationships, I think is critical.
Yeah, that's a really great segue sort of into the next question that I have for you and for Heather is, you know, as we develop these marketing plans and, you know, we identify our customer and our demographic, and we're considering different channels, like you just mentioned. Heather, how are you tracking sort of the data, analytical part of it, and how it tracking that? How are you ensuring growth?
Well, I think one of the big things is, like you had mentioned earlier, having a really clear objective. So you're not just, because you can post content forever, but if you don't have like a clear objective, and I mean, it can just be engagement, but for a lot of us, it really needs to bring in like business. And so having like a clear goal around that is good. So so we look at sales, like, are we seeing an increase in, like, we had a little bit of a summer slump for sales for tea. So we did our very first summer sale. And the goal was to raise sales by a certain amount and to cultivate some new customers. So we just set some of those benchmarks. And then once we hit those, we knew that the marketing efforts to let people know that the sale was happening was a success. So that's one of the things that we do to sort of gauge that.
That's great.
Yeah.
How about you, Meagan?
Yeah.
How are you tracking?
I would say, if obviously, like to Heather's point, sales growth is like critical, right? So if you see more money coming in, it's like, okay, where is that coming from? And honestly, like often I will ask, maybe from like an event that I had for the food bank, like if they're a new donor of ours, I'll ask, how did you hear about us? And considering I have kind of like multiple focuses of ways to reach people, I'm super curious as to when a new donor comes in, or even a new volunteer, how did they learn about the food bank? So I would say, if you have somebody new that's walking through your door and you're having a great conversation, I would ask them. Obviously, engagement on social media is important. I would even say that, like, from a social media perspective, if you are new to social media and you're doing social media for yourself, I would pat yourself on the back with becoming consistent. If you are consistent with posting, because that is really important with the algorithms. So start there, like consistency. I'm posting 4 times a week. That is successful in itself. And then new individuals walking through your door, likes, I would say comments. In slide 5, you referenced making mistakes. And I just want to say that recently, you know, there's tools, Grammarly and other tools you can use for creating content, and they don't catch everything. And so if you ever make a mistake, note that at times somebody on your page might catch it, and it actually might create some really great dialogue. And to be in all honesty, that has happened to me, and we've gained a lot of traction from those. And then I would just say, like, yeah, if you're hearing word of mouth, like maybe someone else referred you, and when you're asking them, how did you hear? Oh, so-and-so told me about it. That's also successful as well too.
Awesome.
Can I?
Yeah, of course.
I want to add something a little bit to some of the things that Meagan said. One of the really sort of straightforward marketing things that people can do for themselves is just like basic housekeeping on the stuff that they already have, like just making sure that everything's really clear on their website. And that is like, or if they don't have like maybe they don't have a website, you just have a physical shop, just making sure that the front of your shop clearly communicates what it is that you're offering and stuff like that. I feel like that is like a really good beginning marketing step. If you don't do social media or anything like that, it's just the housekeeping part, making sure what you already have is doing some marketing for you is really clear. So.
Yep. And I think the consistency with that and branding and communication across all platforms really, like, for the most part, should all tell the same story. I did reference earlier where I've created some specific content for different platforms as a small business owner, and there's only so much time to be had. That can be really challenging. I would just say, like, due to specific demographics going to different channels, I've seen the same post really successful, like say on Instagram, where I talked about a whiskey wall that I was having for my salmon derby. Lots of people, maybe because the demographic is younger, right? There's more people maybe that are drinking or that are engaged in that sort of thing. So they really took to it. Where on Facebook, it was more of a flop in a sense, or I didn't get as much engagement. So it's definitely something kind of to consider.
Yeah, I agree. It's really important to look at those channels. And, as you described earlier, Meagan, like when you're identifying the demographic that you're going after, it really is, it could determine what channels you're using. And I think most of us know that, the Facebook is different than Instagram and different than TikTok. And so where you're putting your efforts, and if it makes sense to have sort of a uniform brand across all channels, or if you're tweaking content a little differently, and then tracking how those efforts are going.
Yeah.
Well, I want to open up sort of the rest of this class for some Q&A. If Heather and Meagan are up to it, you can hit the emoji to show your hand or raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question, or you can put it in the chat. But I'm gonna start with another question here, and it's is there a tool that you use to create a marketing plan? So personally, I like templates, and I don't know, probably about 10 years ago, I found a template that I really liked, and I started using that template. And over the years, it's sort of evolved into sort of my own thing now, and where I have a system in place where I'm creating content. And, I feel like I have a pretty robust plan, but I feel like I wouldn't have got there without a tool. Some people, prefer to write things out or to have a physical whiteboard in front of them. I'm just curious, are there any things that the two of you use to keep you organized when creating a plan?
Yeah, we use obviously a calendar is incredibly helpful. Not only does it just help you get organized, but it also kind of keeps you accountable to the things that you plan to do. So when you get that pop-up like, hey, today you need to plan these posts, or you need to be thinking about this next thing, or you need to do research about what you're going to do for your next steps for marketing. So the calendar. The other thing that I use all the time actually is Canva. I use it to design posts, and they also have the scheduling aspect. So we used to use Later, which is a social media scheduling app, for those of you who don't know what that is. And then Canva created one too. So now it's all completely integrated. Yeah, and it's free and it's really easy to use, and it basically just makes your life a million times easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use Canva as well, and I'm currently paying like $14.99 for like the professional tool. And that was literally so I could take like brand colors and logo and whatnot. And there's a little bit more that's available, but it is so incredibly easy to use. And I don't necessarily consider myself to be super technologically savvy. Like, I do pretty well overall utilizing social media, but I'm not a graphic design artist. but this tool allows me to feel like I am, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, Heather, because I think I had text Meagan about a post that she had made, and I was like, what tool are you using to create this? And she fired back Canva. And so I actually have used it as well. And my son, he created some digital content for himself, like a resume and some
That's
other
cool.
like social media posts on Canva. So I think Sierra put it in the post. She highly suggested as well. It's a pretty slick tool. So
yeah, you can like literally it'll reformat whatever you've created for Instagram, Facebook, even stories. It'll do flyers like 8x11s or even larger sizes as well too. So you don't have to just use it for social media. You can use it for other marketing materials as well. Yeah, it's rad.
Well, I mean, if we say too many good things about Canva, they're going to have to start paying us. But to your point, Meagan, I think it's important to I feel like I have an eye for design, but I'm not a designer. So when you can find tools like that are laid out well, and they are appealing, and whenever you can leverage tools like that, because again, you're business owners, you don't have a lot of time. You shouldn't be spending your time trying to design it when somebody already has. So, okay, so Sean is asking for the panelists' socials. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to share those in the chat, Heather and Meg, your businesses, and that would be great.
I'm at the Jasmine Pearl.
And I'm Columbia Pacific Food Bank. And then I have a side business, which is Luna Fiberworks, which is basically I facilitate like knitting and macrame workshops. It's all focused around fiber arts. And while I've done marketing for several years, I will say that putting my own art out there was a whole nother kind of like beast. And maybe my ego at times got the best of me, where I was very apprehensive of sharing my work on social media and nervous to do that, versus not nervous at all to talk about the food bank. And so that was really kind of interesting. And so once I started creating content and sharing that and becoming more consistent and seeing people, oh, they like what I'm creating, right? They've got thoughts on this. That kind of boosted myself to be able to share more, a little more intimate, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's super scary. I know that a lot of the clients that I've been working with recently, they feel overwhelmed. They feel like maybe they have a good idea, but they don't know how to present it. There's a lot of fear, how it's going to be received, stuff like that. So just know that those are all real emotions for starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur. But we can help work through those things.
Can I say something about that?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so that's totally understandable. And I think really common, especially if you're someone, like right now, I have the buffer of a company basically between me and my audience. But, in those early days and with other projects that I've worked on, there hasn't been a buffer. And so you can feel really vulnerable putting out content in the world. And I think one thing that really helps is just being really clear in your mind who you're speaking to. Like, you may have a couple of customers or friends that are following you who are really going to appreciate what you have to say. And by focusing on speaking to them directly, it kind of helps you move past that. And also, like, it keeps it really authentic. And you're serving them because you're giving them information, having a conversation with them. And people who don't know you or your business very well will actually totally appreciate that, because they're going to want to be on board with that too. They're going to want that sort of that level of friendliness and connection, because that's why we're on social media.
Exactly. And a word that you've used multiple times now, Heather, that I really appreciate is authentic. I think that's really important. It can be difficult to be vulnerable, but when you come across authentic, I feel like it is it's just received differently, and people can really sniff it out. They can tell if you're being fake or not. And so even if it seems scary to be authentic, I really encourage you to take that path. Yeah, Sierra's dropping the socials in the chat there. Thank you, Sierra. You've been really great. She's been sharing not only the slides for today, but I believe I saw the local area resources there, and also for those that weren't in the Marketing 101 class, she provided the slides for that. Do we have any questions or open dialogue? Does anyone want to talk about their business or maybe some of their challenges, even if it's not a question? We have a quiet group here today.
I have just one thing to say. I was looking at my notes, as far as with developing a plan and so forth. And, I think if you have, and as part of your business plan, you're going to obviously have like your mission, your value statement, maybe like 3 or 4 pillars of focus, right? And so then breaking it down from there in regards to how you're going to market that out, I think is really important. And obviously selecting which areas that you are going to utilize, what tools you're going to use for marketing. But I have been using the business platform Meta, which is basically through Facebook. And there is a planner, which is within there for you to be able to pre-schedule posts. And I find that to be really helpful. And I've worked with some small businesses in the past that have a hard time really kind of talking about even 2 weeks ahead what they want to post on social media, right? So it's like, okay, what is our focus for the next 2 weeks? What do we want to get out there? And, one individual was like, well, I don't necessarily, I'm not as excited about the content that we pre-schedule and that we put out there, but there's real intention and thought that goes into the planning, right? And strategy as well too. And within this individual, where the most engagement that's really happened has been with a lot of those pre-scheduled and strategic posts. I will say that when we're out kind of networking and whatnot in multiple businesses that I've done marketing for, as I'm getting to know people and building relationships and kind of getting feedback, maybe they really love my workshops that I do, or they really love this particular item that I've created in the past. Well, receiving that and then maybe taking that and tweaking my marketing plan. Maybe I need to do some more workshops. Maybe I need to create more of this or tweak this a little bit and freshen it up. I think receiving that feedback through networking channels is really important, and really looking quarterly at what's happening and then reassessing and making changes. And specifically for social media, it is ever changing. And Jason, I know you referenced that earlier. I have a couple of individuals that are subject matter experts in social media, and I want to get that information to folks that are on social media or building social media platforms so they can kind of stay up on it. Because Meta, which is Instagram and Facebook, you'll get a notification when something has changed, but you don't really know what that means maybe until weeks later, or how to navigate creating a reel or something. So you can get ahead of it and know maybe a month out and educate yourself. So I'll get that to you guys. So when you send out the content, maybe we can put that in there too.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
We do have a couple of questions in the chat. So Kathleen says, I have some trouble creating social media content because it's so graphic oriented and my business is not. So Heather, do you want to speak
Yeah.
to that a little bit? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That can be super tricky. And so I think stepping back to the from away from the final thing, which is the post and the engagement, is who are your people, and what do they need, and what can you offer them? So for people who don't have particularly visual business, like they don't have a product business, the way that you can help them is just by having a conversation with them, like talking about your experience doing what you do. Maybe even sharing new things that you've learned about your industry. And it becomes more of a conversation. I mean, there can be visual elements to it to spruce it up, but it doesn't have to be. And once you have that engagement, that conversation with people, like for example, I mean, I know I'm in a product-based business, but if I was thinking at it from that perspective, it would be like, hey, here's a new thing that I learned about tea that I didn't know about. This is something new happening in our industry. This is any kind of facts. People love that. And it's got value to it. It's not just a beautiful picture advertising your business that people are going to scroll past. It's something of value, and they'll stop and they'll read it. And also it makes you an expert in your field. It makes people know you better and feel a connection to you, which is, in my opinion, incredibly valuable marketing food.
So Heather, what I heard you say is part of maybe your marketing strategic plan is to educate clients, like on, if you are product focused, like educate them on the product, for example. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's the component of selling to them, right? And then there's another component of like adding value by educating them on the products as well too. Yeah.
So Kathleen, yeah, that's great information. Heather, I completely agree. I think that, like in my time working in banking, there's no pride, it's like, but I had fun with it. You do set yourself up as the subject matter expert. You're able to share success stories, maybe of clients. You can make those look pretty with some of the tools that we're talking about earlier. Just some of the ideas that Heather shared are really great as well. I think that people kind of get wrapped up in, well, I need a widget or a thing to be able to post or whatever, and that's not necessarily true. You can really get creative and find some fun ways to engage.
But specifically related to like graphics and pictures, I think you've got to just like kind of bite the bullet and try it out. And as you do it and you are creating that photo, like over time, you are going to get better. And there's a lot of different tools that you can use, like light boxes, or even on YouTube, you just Google search how to take a photo of this or that. There's all sorts of really great free information and tricks to make things look good.
We have one more question, and then we'll wrap it up after this. Erica says, I feel like I have to create new content every day, new images, new products, etc. I get burned out making fresh content. How much can we and should we repeat posts and content ideas?
I don't think that there's necessarily like a rule associated with this, but yeah, I think reposting content, looking at, if we're talking about social media again, like looking at what it is that you might want to repost, maybe tweaking the verbiage a little bit. And then also like in Canva or other tools, you can literally change like a border with a photo or put a keyword in there, and it draws new attention to the post and the graphic. So I think it's okay to kind of recirculate things. And how often would I do that? I think monthly, you could recreate some content. I think that's appropriate. If you have like maybe a sale or a campaign happening, you could do that even more frequently, I think.
There's definitely I totally agree with Meagan. There's definitely a couple of schools of thought about what you should do on social media. And there are the people who are like, just hammer everyone with tons of social media. And that is what I think a lot of us small business people feel is pressure. Like we're supposed to be posting all the time. But you know, if you're a business, that's not realistic, and it's not always really effective because people will kind of tune you out over time. And so if you have quality and you're repeating the quality content, I think that makes a lot of sense. And also, I think we love social media because it's free and it's pretty easy to use and it gets us out to a lot of people. But if social media is a huge pain point, then it's really a good idea to look at other ways of marketing, like newsletters and partnerships and things like that. So they don't have that kind of pressure on yourself, because if you are not enjoying it, you're not going to do a very good job. And so like with the limited time that you have to focus on marketing, it's good to be doing things that you're kind of excited about, or at least that you don't hate, you know, and then you'll produce better stuff and you'll get better engagement.
Exactly. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, this time goes so fast. So I just want to hand it over to Sierra Trask. She kind of wants to close it out and talk about what's coming up. I'm going to leave my info in the chat as well. So you can email me if you have any questions about what we talked about today. If you want to discuss creating a business plan and or marketing plan, I'm here to assist you with that. So
awesome. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Megan. And thank you, Heather, so much. And feel free to use any of one of us as a resource. And so feel free to put your contacts in there and let people be able to ask. As part of this series, it's been made possible by Oregon State Lottery Funds administered by Business Oregon. And we really want to get like some feedback about how these classes have been going. And we're going to be doing the series again in winter 2023 and this class again. And so we would love your feedback to see what we can do to make this series even better. So if you can scan this QR code or you take that link that I put in chat and take just about 2 minutes, that would be fabulous. And another note too is we also have some funding from those lottery funds to develop some kind of resource in the community around marketing or digital marketing. And so if there's something that you've always been like, that would be really nice, let me know, because we're still thinking about what we want to develop there. And the other thing is this is part of a series. And so upcoming classes. So woohoo, we just all made it through the Easily Creative Marketing Plan. And we have just a few more left. And so next week, we're going to be talking about quick and easy digital marketing tips for a busy business owner. And I know that's been part of the conversation today. And when I'm out on the ground, so many owners say that. So this will be a great class to just figure out how to do things quick and easy. And then the next classes is on October 5th. We'll have Dan Rocha for Fawcett Printing in St. Helens, and we'll be on meeting on Zoom to talk about branding. So maybe you've heard some of this and you're like, I still don't know how to develop my voice for my business or maybe my branding contents. He'll just kind of cover all those type of things. And then on October 12th, we have Facebook and Instagram. We're just going to deep dive in there. So this is for people that have already created their page and now they want to like grow it. And then right after that, from 10 to 4, we're going to be having people meet one-on-one with local marketing professionals. So there's limited availability. So if you want to do a one-on-one to just work on your Facebook and or Instagram, be sure to like go and book. And then I'll be leading the class on the holidays. And then right after that, we'll be talking. This one's really popular. A lot of people are excited. So if you're trying to figure out how to show up in a Google search, come to this one, because we'll be talking about search engine optimization and maximizing your Google My Business listing. And so we'd love to have you. And without further ado, thank you all for coming today.
thank you, Sierra. Thank you, Meagan. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, and again, thanks for everyone who attended today. And again, we put the slides there in the chat. It has my contact information. It has Sierra's contact information. It looks like Meagan and Heather also put theirs in there. So I hope that everyone has an amazing Wednesday, and hope you attend the next marketing series class.
And feel free to stay on a few minutes after if you have more questions.